Hey, friend, it's Brandon Gustafson with Assisted Living Investing. I help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. Excited to have you here with me on the channel today. Today, we're going to be talking to Regina. She's an expert in helping out with funding, unsecured funding, has some experience with SBA loans. So she helped me get over $350,000 for my business as we were trying to do our grant. So if you haven't seen that, go make sure you go watch those videos. We'll link those up above for you so you can go and see how that process worked. But she was the catalyst to get us the funding we needed so that we could, finish the renovations in time period that we had. It was really stressful. Took us, we had been working on this for 18 months, and then one day the state came back to me. They told me, "Hey, you've got to finish this," and they gave me about 3 weeks, and I didn't have the money to do it, so I had to go find the money. Regina was good enough to reach out to me on LinkedIn, helped us secure the funding. We paid all our vendors to get the work done, got reimbursed for the grant, and paid off all of those loans all in about a 4-week period. And Regina was a catalyst to that. So super excited to have her here with me today on the channel, and excited to work through a little bit of this and ask her a few questions about how unsecured lending works. So with that said, let's get to it. Hey, Regina, how's it going?
Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for joining me today. So we're going to do a little bit of an intro for Regina so you can get to know her a little bit, and so you can understand where she's coming from, the type of work that she does, and then we'll get into a few questions for her.
I'm Regina. I'm the principal and founder of Bestart. And what we do is we specialize in capital for new ventures, scaling operations, and expanding in real estate. My background, actually, I've been investing in real estate since 2005 or 6-ish, off and on. I'm more of a buy and hold. I've also do, of course, business funding, as Brandon mentioned, and I also land on both residential and commercial properties. So basically at Vestard, what we do is we help business owners who are looking to secure capital to start up a business, grow their business, expand, acquisitions, renovations, like what Brandon mentioned, and help them with their operational costs. So we can help pretty much anything that you need for your business.
So let's jump into some questions here. So first off, tell me a little bit about what is unsecured lending? Who is it best suited for?
It's best suited for people who need cash or funds fast. Usually unsecured lending provides financing that doesn't require any kind of collateral, meaning like property or assets that are tied to the loan. It's not like your traditional loan, like your mortgages. Business loans are usually, those types of loans are backed by real estate, but unsecured basically rely on your credit worthiness and your income. That's it. So pretty
Okay.
sweet type of deal, actually.
Yeah, no, that's nice. So when you think of unsecured, who's your best client that needs unsecured funds? Who's that person? The avatar for that person?
It could actually be any business owner, actually. I'll just use you as a perfect example. You mentioned that in your intro, but anyone who needs just quick access to capital for renovations, staffing, marketing, operational expenses. So anybody who needs money quickly and then can pay that loan back pretty fast.
Why would somebody maybe choose an unsecured loan over different types of financing? Why would they decide that this is the type of funding that they need?
Well, there's no risk of losing any personal or business assets in case there is a default. And usually the best thing about an unsecured loan is the approval process. It's fast and it's pretty easy. I mean, it doesn't take a lot when you are applying for an unsecured loan as far as documents to submit. And, once you submit those documents in, we can find out whether or not you're pre-qualified within, I would say, 24 hours, and then get you funded probably within 7 business days ish, 7-ish business days, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, everything is subject to
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
everything is subject, and it also depends on the amount. So usually, the bigger the amount, it's going to take a little bit longer. But if it's a smaller amount, you could probably get funded probably within 7 days. Like Brandon, yours was a little bit higher, and I think you said it was like right under 3 weeks that you got funded. So it's just
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the paperwork and things that they need on the back end. So
No, and that makes a ton of sense. It is very lender specific into what their requirements are and how they're going to work with you. Your experiences may vary, we'll say.
yeah.
So tell us, what are some of the main things that lenders are looking for when they're looking to approve an unsecured loan?
So one of the things is, of course, your personal credit score. You're going to need at least a 680 credit score. with most lenders. Again, every lender does have the requirements that they need. I mean, I just found a lender yesterday that always goes all the way down to about 500 and above.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but they still look at your credit worthiness. So yeah, you may have had some struggles prior, but say you've been making payments and you've been on time for the past few months, or there may be some low balances that if you could pay off now, they can probably get you approved. So every situation's different, and then that's where I come in. I take a look at all these things and I go find out, okay, which lender should I send this borrower to? And then it doesn't necessarily mean just because I sent you over to a lender that it's going to get approved. They're going to do their due diligence on the back end to make sure that you do qualify based on the parameters of their investors or their loan process. But yeah, the main thing is you need a 680 plus score, I would say there. But if you are lower than that, come talk to me or, do your own research online. If you're going to go alone and do this. But if you don't want to go
Yeah.
alone, you want someone to hold your hand, I'm happy to hold your hand. I don't have a problem doing that. That's my job. I love doing that. If you're below 680, come talk to me. I can actually figure out and see which direction we need to go, or should we wait until we can build you up to that 680 score. You're also going to need a solid revenue history. So as far as how much you make on a yearly basis. And then they're also going to be taking a look at your personal tax returns. Some lenders may even want to look at your business tax returns if you're currently in business now. But if you're a startup and you're wanting unsecured funds, they are going to be looking at your personal tax returns. So make sure you have that information or those documents. And then again, your revenue history that your business is making.
In your role as like a lending broker, you're kind of that gatekeeper that's like, hey, let's get all your information. Let's make sure ducks are in a row. Let's get all the paperwork. Let me review it. I'm going to introduce you to the people that I think are going to be best suited for you. Is that kind of the role that you play?
Yeah. So what I do is I collect all the documents that the lender needs up in advance before taking it to them. And then I package it together, send it to them. And what happens is they review your documents. And if they feel like you are a good fit, then what they'll do is they'll reach out to you. And then just like in your case, Brandon, they reached out to you and then they pretty much take it from there. I only come in at the beginning, but some of my clients do want me to be on the call with the lender. And I'm happy to do that. But in the lending business, there are some parameters. Some lenders have some compliance things that they can't do certain things, which we went through 2008. And so there's just certain compliance that some lenders don't want to dip their toes in, and other lenders are like, yeah, we'll invite you in. And, we can't correspond with you on everything, meaning me, the broker, but we'll keep you involved. So I just basically put everything in a nice package and wrap it up and then send it to the lender. Some lenders, I don't even have to package it up. I can just send you directly to that lender because I have a connection with that lender. And so they know the type of clients that I work with. And so they just go ahead and take care of it. But a lot of times individuals don't know all the lenders that are out there who can meet their needs. And that's where I come in. So, because I have a direct link to those folks and I can get you in contact with them.
Nice. That's awesome. What's one myth about unsecured loans and unsecured lending that you would like to debunk?
One myth is, oh, if I don't pay my loan, they're going to take my house. They're not going to take, it's not tied to the asset. So it's more of a, it's on your personal side, but then it's non-collateral. So it's not based on any kind of asset. Another myth that can be debunked is I can have it for 10 years. No, you can't have it that long. Unsecured loans are more tied to a shorter time frame because they want to make sure you can pay it off in a short time frame. So up to I would say between 5 to 7 years and as low as 6 months. So you want to make sure that if you do get a loan through an unsecured loan, that you do pay it off. You don't want to sit there and then just be like, oh, I got time, or don't pay it. Don't.
Right.
I mean, pay it, but don't get into the habit of not trying to pay for your loans. So, I mean, I'm trying to think of other things. It's just like unsecured loans it's not secure because again, it's just not tied to the property. And I guess that's where a lot of people think that they can take their property and they can't take their property. It's going to look bad on your credit. So the main thing, I guess, is like you got to have perfect credit for a secure loan. You don't have to have perfect credit because, like I said, I have lenders that can go all the way down to 500. So
Yeah.
I think credit's the main thing. One of the biggest myths about unsecured lending is like, I got to have perfect credit.
Let's shift a little bit of our conversation over to SBA loans. So I know SBA is not like necessarily the thing that you focus on, but you do have resources and connections there that can help people out with it. So in as we get into talking a little bit about SBA, tell me a little bit like how does SBA funding work? What makes it a popular choice for small businesses?
The main thing is lower interest rates.
Mhm.
SBA loans, we didn't touch on it with unsecured loans. Unsecured loans do have a higher interest rate because it is a shorter period of time. But with SBA loans, since it can range anywhere from 5 years up to 25 years if there's property associated with the SBA loan. So you can stretch out that term. And so that's where SBA, one of the reasons why it is a popular choice, because you do have a lower interest rate with a lower repayment terms than your traditional loans. And also what a lot of people don't know is that you can, and I don't know if you may have put this in your course, but for those who are not in Brandon's course, you should sign up for his course. You can actually buy real estate with an SBA loan. So you don't have to buy real estate with a traditional loan. You can actually do it with an SBA loan. So that's one of the reasons why the most popular choice to get an SBA loan is a lower payment and a lower interest rate.
So I think this probably applies both to the SBA and unsecured. But speaking from experience, I know it's the case with an SBA loan. What is the type of paperwork and things that people are going to need if they're going down that path of trying to secure funding? What is that application process going to look like?
For unsecured loan or SBA loan or both.
Let's talk about SBA though. I think there's probably a definitely a level of
Okay.
crossover there with certain things, but let's focus on SBA because I think that's a lot of people are going to be interested in hearing
Yeah.
about that.
So SBA loans, prepare yourself. It's extensive. It's a lot of paperwork. The SBA, as you all know, it is a government entity. So it's going to require some very detailed application. You're going to need a business plan, financial projections, your profit and loss. There's just a long list. But one of the things I definitely want to make sure I point out is if you are buying a property from another person, a seller, right? You also are going to probably need their documentation, such as their tax forms for the past 2 to 3 years, depending on the lender that you're working with. I would say probably 3 years. So you're going to want to get those tax returns, the business tax returns. You want to get their profit and loss statements, their balance statement. You want to get all that documentation you can, especially if you're going through that due diligence period. Collect all that information, and because you're going to have to submit that information in with that SBA packet that you're applying for. The other one is the SBA is very strict on credit and revenue requirements. So you want to make sure that you meet those credit requirements and revenue. SBA loans are more accessible than your traditional bank loans. So lenders are looking for, in the SBA space, for really strong financials. So you want to make sure your own personal financials are intact. So you're going to have to provide your own financial bank statements, personal. And then if you have an existing business, or you, just to say your second property that you're buying, you're going to need to make sure you're showing everything, especially if it's under the same LLC umbrella. And then the other thing, just be prepared. You're going to be going through a long approval process. And I think I mentioned prior, but I put everything in a nice packet when I send things off to the lender. But just know these are just the basics that may be needed just to start looking at your file. But as they get into the loan process and underwriting the loan, there's going to be more documentation that's going to be needed that they're going to be asking for. And so that's where I can come in and I can assist you with that. Because initially, when I get started, I collect all those documents and I package it and then I send it off to the lender. And then so the lender doesn't have to go back to you all the time to get that paperwork, I may already have it, because they will ask you maybe 1 or 2 times for the same piece of paperwork that we've already submitted. And that's where I come in. I've already packaged that information. But also during that process of underwriting, there may be some canceled checks that they may need. May need you to go get it signed by someone at the bank. So just be prepared. There's a lot that goes into an SBA loan, and there's going to be a lot of requirements, documentation that they need. So you're just going to have to be patient and just realize it's not going to be it's not going to be done next week. It's not going to be done probably at the end of the month. It may take a little while. I'll just leave it there.
Takes a while.
I'll just leave it
I
there.
can attest to that. Yeah, it's probably not as bad as you're thinking when we say it takes a while, but it will take months to get through. So for those of you that are listening, you're like, oh man, they're saying it's going to take a while. This is a 12-month close. It's not going to be that long,
No,
but
no,
it's
not at
not
all.
a 3-week
I
process
think the
either.
most I've seen is maybe 120 up to 120 days, so almost
Yeah,
4 months maybe. So, because you have to
yeah,
factor in, especially like the time of the year, there's holidays that come in there. And so that, there's just a lot of factors that play into that. And it just takes time to get paperwork back to the underwriter. And then the underwriter is not just working on your file, the underwriter is working on other files too. So it just takes a little time. So we can't
yeah.
say you're going to close on this day. They're just that it just takes a while. It just takes a
Yeah,
while.
they'll give you a day, and then 3 days later they'll change the day, and then 3 days after that they'll change it again. So just you kind of have to be patient and work with them on
Patience.
it.
Exactly. A lot of patience.
Yes,
Yeah.
patience is absolutely key. Yes, it's a virtue. So tell us a little bit, like if somebody that is just starting their assisted living business journey, they're getting ready to go. What are some of those first steps that they should take towards securing the fund that they're going to need?
Yeah. So before even going out to get financing, I would say start with a solid business plan. Have your business plan written out. Brandon, you mentioned that, you have that in your course. So make sure it's solid and have a clear roadmap of your business model, your cost, revenue projections, licensing requirements, pretty much anything. And I'm sure you have a list of what
Yeah,
within the course for the business plan. Okay. So basically, the lenders want to see that you've done your homework, you understand what you're doing, and your business is financially viable to do what you want to do and for them to lend you that money. So I would say
yeah,
just having that solid business plan in place is key. And having all that information, the business model, the cost, revenue projections, everything. So
yeah. And I'm glad you said that. So for those of you that are watching or listening, make sure you go to grab the free business plan checklist, so you can get that at assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist, free tool for you. And if you want help building that foundation, the Launchpad that I have is the Launchpad bundle helps you do that, building the business plan, the underwriting, market research, everything that you're going to need that Regina was just saying is included in that. So you can go check that out at assistedlivinginvesting.net/launchpad. So Regina, tell me, like, what are some of the red flags that you or somebody should just be like aware of when it comes to looking at funding options? What are some red flags that maybe a lender is looking at you and they're like, nope, that's not going to work? What should people be avoiding or be aware of that they should try to do better at?
yeah, I mean, I would say I would love to talk more about what you all should be aware of. Do not, if you don't work with me, just be aware upfront fees. Do not pay anyone an upfront fee to get a loan. The only fee that you could pay prior to getting a loan is for your credit report. That's it. Okay. But legitimate lenders don't ask for like large fees upfront before you get approved. So just be aware of that. I would say unrealistic guarantees. If someone says, oh, you'll get approved no matter what, that will be a red flag. And then just high pressure tactics. Good lenders give you time to review your terms. So once you're working with a loan, like I always like to give my borrowers options, like look at all these different terms that, figure out which one works best for you. So don't feel pressure to go with this lender because your broker says, oh, just go with this one. I say ask for options. I like options. So that was one red flag. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Some of the key ones, those are the big ones as far as like just be aware of who you're working with, make sure they're experienced. And another thing is make sure they're available for you.
Hmm.
I've come into, actually not me personally, but I've heard stories, why people have come to me is because they've gone to lenders and the person or excuse me, even brokers that are just not there for them or not available to answer the questions that they have. So you want to make sure that the lender or even the loan broker, and a lot of times the loan broker may not have all the answers. And I always say that I don't have all the answers to everything because every lender is so different. and they all have different requirements. And so I may not know the answer to everything for that particular lender. And this lender over here is different, but I at least know the basics or the foundation to get you into a lender. But I just don't know all the back end underwriting that that lender may, want you to do or need from you. I just don't know everything, but I'm there. So if there's ever a question, that's the other thing I always say. If there's ever a question that comes up, I always tell my clients, come talk to me. And that allows me to go
Yeah.
talk to the lender for them on their behalf. So that's what I'm here for. I'm the middle lady of this whole thing, right? I'm going to make sure everyone's taken care of. I'm going to make sure my goal is to make sure that you get the funds that you need, that you can qualify for, and then that you can close when you need to close. So that's my job. I want to make sure everything goes as smooth as possible for my clients.
Thank you. I think those are really good things for people to be aware of as they're trying to look at that. I've had interactions with lenders that do some of the things that you just said to avoid. So they are out there. I absolutely attest to that. So you got to be careful with them for sure. What's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone that is listening today who just is feeling stuck in that funding process?
If you're stuck in that funding process, I would say you don't have to do this alone. I'm here. If you don't want to work with me, your person at the local bank or credit union's there. So work with a financial professional. Your mentor, Brandon. I mean, I'm sure you have, conversations with a lot of your students, and you understand the process. You've been through the process. There's so many funding solutions out there. So I just say, just talk to a financial professional, whether it's at your bank, your credit union. But I just feel like you don't have to do this alone. There's so much information on the internet, and it can a lot of times be overwhelming, especially if you haven't done this before, if this is your first time. So do your research. There's nothing wrong with doing your research, but then come and talk to a broker, a financial professional, your mentor, to see, do you think I fit in this? I can do this way, or should I go this way? But like I said, that's where I come in, is I help alleviate and I look for options. I look for the best options based on your situations. Because when you and I talk, I'm looking at, what do you want to do now? What do you want to see yourself in 3 to 5 years? And what are your long-term goals? And once I have that information, I can then kind of navigate which direction to send you.
That's helpful. Thank you. Any last words of wisdom? Anything like you're just like, oh, I forgot to say this. I've got to get it out there to the world that you'd like to share with us about unsecured loans, anything in this process.
Yeah. So the key thing is right now is, I would say, know how much you want to borrow, and then also know how much you can afford. Don't think, because you may qualify for $1 million, but do you feel like you can make those payments of $1 million,
Right.
now 3 years, 5 years to pay back that, whatever that time frame is. So I would just say is, just make sure you're smart about what you can afford at the end, and consider your revenue projection when you're doing this, and overall your debt. Also, don't feel that, if you talk to me, I'm going to be hurt if you go to someone else. I always say, if you feel comfortable, you can go get a second opinion. But a lot of times we're all working with the same lender. So I always say, feel comfortable who you're working with. I'm a hand holder. I'll walk you through the process. I'm not going to just like leave you out on in the wild, wild west to figure it out on your own. I'm going to be there to hold your hand. And, a lot of lenders will just take your information and they're gone, and you don't hear from them, or they're not calling you back. I understand everyone does get busy, but you also want someone who's attentive to your file and to your situation and what you need. So I would say, just be smart on that, because again, I'm going to look at you where you are now, what your goal is in 3 to 5 years and 10 years, to figure out, what's the best solution to you. Some of them I may need to mix those funding solutions. Some of them I'm like, well, let's just stick with this one now. Let's see how this one goes before we move to that next funding step or the next goal in life as far as like funding. So let's just get your line of credit. Let's get you a business credit card first to build up your business credit. And then, okay, let's look at, say, another type of loan to get here. So just depending on everyone's situation is different. So we just need to talk. And that's what I like to do. I like to talk, figure it out, and then proceed and go to getting you funded.
Love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Where can listeners learn more about you? Where can they find you and get access to you or the resources that you offer?
So my website, which is www.vestark.com. I'm also on Facebook under Vestark Capital Solutions and LinkedIn. If you look up under Vestark on LinkedIn or just my name, Regina Morgan, on LinkedIn. I think that's
Awesome.
about
Well,
it.
thanks, Regina. Yeah, thanks for joining me today, and yeah, we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you later.
Right.
That was super helpful. I hope you got a lot of information out of that. Comment down below your biggest insight. Like, what's the thing that you're most interested in? Make sure you go reach out to Regina and allow her to help you along your path to launching your assisted living business. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you don't know how to get started at assisted living investing? I help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in 12 months. I love helping people and coaching people and guiding them. Make sure you go grab free resources, go grab that business plan checklist, assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist. And if you feel like you need some help and guidance, go apply to the mastermind, alimastermind.com. Would love to help you out. And remember, it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Just keep going step by step by step. And I promise you, if you do and you're consistent and persistent, you're going to be successful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.